Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you live from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I am Canadian, West Coast Canadian to be exact. And this is a question and answer session for today. It's a members chat class. Everybody is welcome to watch. We will have an all chat class coming up in 90 minutes that will focus on speaking section part 3. Hi Barendra. Hi Pavan. Hi Daniil. Good to see many of our members already in class. This lesson is brought to you by aehelp.com for academic IELTS success. And if you are learning for the general version of the exam, then check us out at gieltshelp.com. I'll just quickly give you a glimpse of those websites while we wait for some more members to join in. This is our academic website here with the blue background. Click that big red button to join us there. Then you get a My Student account with over 100 hours of video lessons, fully interactive course that you can use on your phone, tablet, PC, and 6 original exams in computer-based and paper-based format. Same thing for general exam. It looks like this with the green background. Click that big red button to join us there. If you haven't downloaded our app yet, go to your Apple App Store or Android Google Play Store. Look for our Shield, search for Academic IELTS Help to get that app. Ajita, Jyoti, hi, how are you? If you have questions and are new members, I saw that we have a couple new members, just send me an email for your perks. My name, Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, at aehelp.com. So today, again, this class is focusing on a question and answer session. I know that often students have questions about the exam, about the procedures, about strategies. So this session that we have for questions and answers every couple weeks gives a chance for our members to ask those questions. So we'll get to that in just a moment. And then we'll do speaking part 3. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, there's no class. And then I will be back on Wednesday at 15 o'clock with speaking part 1. And then we continue as regular. Okay. Pavan has a quick question. Pavan, I know you're new member. I just sent you an email with your perks about an hour ago. You're in your final year of pharmacy. Should you do your IELTS during February 2020 after you're finished your degree? Pavan, it depends what you need to do. So if you are applying for school or for immigration, then you definitely should do it at least several months before your school starts or before you're planning to emigrate. And it also depends on your English level, Pavan. So we can discuss that further. You can send me an email on that, okay? If you're planning to do your master's degree abroad, Pavan, definitely do the academic IELTS exam no later than April or May if you are applying for September entry. Okay, if your application's for September entry, then you should do your exam April, May the latest. Okay, give yourself another chance to do it if you have to. You can get a conditional acceptance in many universities, but you still need to do your IELTS before you start your master's in most cases. Okay, I hope that helps. Hi, Tintu. All right. Okay, so let's get into the lesson. I know that Barendra asked me what is the difference between general and academic IELTS. Barendra, did you find that out? Okay. Or your question is, what is the common part between these two? Okay. Let's talk about that. So, the listening and the speaking are the same. Okay. Okay, that's one. A lot of people know that, but there's actually a little bit more similarity than that. So, the listening, the speaking, they're the same. Let me just do a little list for you like this, okay? And this is for all of our viewers. That's one. That's the same. The listening, the speaking section. Okay. Section 3 of the reading is very similar. Both are one long passage with 13 to 14 questions. Okay. And task 2 of the writing is very similar. Both are persuasive essays, and you need to write 250 words. Okay, so those are the parts that are the same. Okay, so the listening and the speaking sections are identical. Okay, in many test centers, the students for academic in general will sit together for the listening section. Okay, and then they go to different rooms, or they get different exams for the reading and the writing. Section 3 of the reading is very similar. Both are one long passage with 13 to 14 questions. And task 2 is very similar. Both of them, you're basically writing a persuasive essay. Let me show that to you, okay? And Ajita, CR7 guy, I see those questions as well. I'll come back to those. But I definitely want to make this clear. So one big difference that you have to understand is most people do the general, or it's also called the UKVI. UKVI just means United Kingdom visa for immigration. Okay. That's the general Ielts. So there's only 2 versions of the Ielts. Some people think that the UKVI is like another version. That's just the general version of the exam. And the academic, most people, let's do it like this. So definitely know which one you need to take. So most people take academic Ielts for school, university entrance, and for work. Now, in rare cases, the general Ielts will work or will be used for workplaces also. What's very important is always find out from your place of application which version of the IELTS is required. So academic or general, okay? All right, so always ask, okay? So it's often different groups of people, and that's why we have 2 different websites. We don't want to confuse people. So that's why I showed you at the beginning that we have one website for general IELTS that focuses only on that exam. And then we have one that's for academic. Unfortunately, a lot of material that you buy or that you see online combines both, and it's really confusing because you're really only doing one of these two exams, okay? Now, let me just show you real quick. So this is the academic exam book here. And if I jump to page 57, I believe. Yeah, so basically the review test here, or test number 1. So the listening, I'll just very quickly in 2 minutes, I'll go over the academic version of the exam versus the general version of the exam, okay? So you're really clear on this. So both the academic and the general version has a listening section. The listening section takes about 50 minutes to do, with about another few minutes of instruction, so they give roughly an hour for the listening section. Now, the listening section has 4 sections. Each section gets more and more difficult. So each one has 10 questions. And this is the same for the general and the academic, okay? You have roughly 11 different types of questions that you can see in the 4 sections, okay? You put your answers into the question booklet, into these spaces, and then at the end, after the 40 minutes of listening, you have 10 minutes to put your answers into an answer sheet, okay? Now, after the listening, for the academic Ielts, you have 1 hour of reading, okay? In the 1 hour of reading, you have 3 passages, all right? Each one has 13 to 14 questions, and there are 9 different types of questions, I believe, in the reading. And each reading is 650 to about 800 words long, okay? So that's the reading for the academic. And the academic IELTS reading topics will be on academic information like geography, business, economics, psychology, sociology, political science, biology. So those are the topics for the academic IELTS. And so if you're learning for the academic version of the exam, it's really good to review English textbooks from high school. You can actually find some of these online in PDF. Okay, all right. I know there's a lot of questions. Do not worry, I will get to those. But this is definitely important. A lot of people have asked, you know, what's the academic, what's the general? So if I jump over to the general version of the exam, okay, so this is our general book here, and I'm just gonna jump over to the reading so that you can see what the general exam reading looks like. So the listening is identical, and then when you get into the reading for the general, the first 2 sections, so notice how in the general it doesn't say passage 1, it says section 1, okay? And in the general, section 1 will have 2 readings. Each one will be about a page long, so about 350 words, and will only have about 7-8 questions, okay? So here's another one, must-see TV, and then that's section 1. Total, there are 14 questions. And then you have section 2. Section 2 also has 2 more short passages. Because of that, in the general reading for section 1 and section 2, you can actually skim and scan for the answers a little bit. But in the academic, it doesn't work because the passages are much longer and the questions require even more inferencing, okay? So skimming and scanning the passage in the general works somewhat, but it doesn't work in the academic. Keep that in mind, okay? So the topics are different too. In section 1 and section 2 for the general, for the 4 short passages, the topics are usually everyday kinds of ideas. Like here, it's a student orientation pamphlet. It could be like a museum guide, or as you saw, one of the ones I showed you was how to operate a laundry machine. So those are the kinds of topics. Here's building a successful company. So that's the topic there. For section 3 of the reading, as I said a few minutes ago, it's very similar to the academic. So you see this list of headings. It's the most challenging. It's just one passage. This one is about the Statue of Liberty. So it's about the history of the Statue of Liberty. So it's much more like an academic reading passage. So for those students who are learning for general and you have good English skills, you can use academic reading passages to increase your reading skills for the 3rd section of the general. Does that make sense, what I just said there? So academic reading passages are useful to increase your skills for section 3 of the general version of the exam, because they're very similar. Does that make sense? Okay. And then after that, the writing is very different. So the writing task 1 in the general is a letter. It's some kind of a letter. And letters are narrative writing. So you're telling a story. Okay? All right, are you still with me there, members? You're following these differences between the academic and the general, depending on which one you need to do. So here, task 1 in the academic is a table. Okay? So if you're learning for the general exam, definitely don't practice task 1 from the academic. That really doesn't make sense. This is an expository essay. You're meant to expose and explain a graph, a table, a pie chart. And with the general, you're meant to write a narrative essay where you're using first-person voice contractions. You're telling a story. This is a very different style of writing. It's narrative versus expository writing. Okay? Pavan, yeah, some books that you should read. So Pavan's saying, what kind of books should I read to enhance my reading skills? I recommend reading biography books, Pavan. So read biography novels. About people that you are interested in to increase your reading skills. So don't read fantasy, because fantasy books often have a lot of unusual sentences and vocabulary, but biography novels are definitely full of really useful information for the modern day, like reading about the life of Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Nelson Mandela. Okay, so lots and lots. Mother Teresa or Saint Teresa. Okay, so lots and lots of different famous people. I'm sure that you know of some that you're interested in. And of course, English here, right? So biography novels are very, very good reads. Okay, Pavan, what's really important is that you're reading a book that's interesting for you. the brain works much better and holds information much better if it's interested and excited about the topic that you're reading. Okay, so that's a good question as we move past the reading and writing sections. Okay, and then just jumping back here, so writing task 2 in the general, it's very, very similar to the academic. So it says you should spend 40 minutes on this task. Some people prefer to travel around town by car, while others prefer public transportation, such as a bus, train, or subway. Discuss both these positions. This is a general question here. And for academic, it's also persuasive essay. In a publicly funded healthcare system, people who are willing to pay for the best and fastest treatment should be able to do so. To what extent do you agree or disagree? There are lots of different kinds of task 2 questions. You can see many of those on our websites, in the blogs, and in the interactive course. But the main idea is that task 2 in the academic and in the general are both persuasive. Okay, so Barendra, does that answer your question about the academic and the general IELTS? What's different and what is the same? Okay, does that give you an answer? So reading section 1 and 2, writing task 1. Those are the main differences. Okay, so definitely don't confuse those. All right. And make sure you sit for the right version of the exam. Okay, so I see that there were more questions before. I'll get to some of those now. Thank you for your patience. And I highly recommend choosing materials that are specific to what you're learning. Okay, so Ajita, Jyoti, are you still there? Your question is, if you sit the IELTS and you write all of your listening in capital letters and reading in small letters, is there any effect on the score? Yes, you can write your listening in all capital letters, but in your reading, there's probably some words that are proper nouns, Ajita. So if you write all small letters, you're probably going to get some answers wrong, because some of your answers in the reading may require big letters, okay, if they're names or proper nouns. So just be very careful. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. It just looks kind of strange, but it doesn't matter. If you have the correct spelling and you use capital letters when they're needed, uppercase letters, it doesn't matter if you use all uppercase for the listening and you don't use all uppercase for the reading. I don't know why you would want to do that, but it doesn't matter, okay, as long as you give the correct answer. CR7 guy, hopefully you're still with us as well. You have a couple questions. CR7 guy is asking, what's the ideal time to prepare to get a Band 8, assuming I'm okay at English? Okay. So it really depends on how well you study, how much you study. Excuse me, getting over a cold. It also depends on how good you are at learning languages. Do you already speak 2 or 3 languages? Is English your second language only? The reason I say that, CR7 guys, because people who speak 3 or 4 languages can learn another language much faster than people who speak 1 or 2 languages. So there's a lot of variables that matter to get a Band 8. So it's really hard to say an exact amount of time. But let's say, CR7 guy, that you are a solid intermediate level in English. Like, let's say you're a B2 C1 according to the European standard. And let's say that you study 3 to 4 hours every day, then you can get to a band 8 in about 4 months, 5 months. Okay? If you have effective study tools and you're consistent. Pavan is asking a good question that's relevant. Pavan says, what should I do before your live sessions and after your live sessions? Pavan, to maximize your learning before live sessions, use English for an hour. Maybe reading, writing, speaking if you have the chance. Try to match with the upcoming class. And then after the class, review your notes. Practice new vocabulary that you learned from the live class. It's a really good question, okay? So Pavan's asking, what should I do before and after live classes? It's a great question. So before, use English for an hour on the topic that will be upcoming. Okay, so reading, writing, speaking, listening. Okay, and afterwards, review your notes from the class and write example sentences with the new vocabulary from class. Okay, that's what I recommend you do. It's a great question. Thank you for that. All right. Let's see, what else do we have? So Daniel says, dear teacher, I've got a question about the IELTS exam. I mean, where can I get myself acquainted about the IELTS structure? I've just started my exam preparation, so I know almost nothing about it. Daniel, good question. As I just went through the general and the academic, step number 1, know which version you have to do, academic or general, and then as I showed you the structure for each one. Daniel, if you're not using our websites yet, once you know if you need academic, please go here, aehelp.com. You don't have to join the premium package right away. Click the green button. Try it for free. So try the demo version for absolutely free. It will give you a good idea of the structure of the academic exam. If it's the general that you need, visit us at ieltshelp.com and you can try the demo on that website also. Okay. All right. Paranjay is asking, what types of questions follow the sequence of the passage in the reading section? Paranjay, very good question. Okay. Usually true, false, not given. So this is the question. In the reading, which questions follow the structure of the passage? Good. So true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given. Those are virtually the same. Just make sure you don't confuse them when you're putting your answers in the answer sheet. Okay. So yes, no, not given. Summary completion. Flowchart. List of headings. Also, those are the ones that come to mind. Multiple choice sometimes, but not always. Okay. Those might not. Matching information to the paragraph, definitely not. Okay. What other ones? Multiple choice, matching sentence endings, no. Fill in the blanks, not necessarily. Short answers, not necessarily either. So, yeah, most of the other ones don't really follow the passage necessarily. Okay, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. There's no guarantee. All right. Mika, I see that you made a $2.79 super chat donation. Thank you, Mika. Saikiran. And Mika's asking, how do I not panic and maintain the flow in listening? Okay, Mika, that's a really good question. So Mika says, how do I not panic in the listening? That's a really good one because that can happen, especially if you feel lost. I'll show you, Mika. Okay, so let's go to a listening section. Yeah, that's a very common worry, Mika, for many students, that I'll lose my place in the listening and then I won't know what to do and I'll panic. So let me just get to the right place here. Okay, there we go. So, okay, so you're in the listening section, Mika, and for sections 1, 2, and 3, Mika, you have some time to review the questions. So when you're reviewing the questions, you need to pay attention to some key pieces of information. Like this first question is where. So this is a location like London or Liverpool. So here you have to keep in mind that you're listening for a location. And then next question is how many football matches has the man played? So this is the number of games. 10, none, 40 to 50. So when you're listening, you need to pay attention to more than just the question that you're on. You kind of have to keep the next question in mind whenever possible, so that if you're paying attention to this first question, where would the man like to play football, and you don't catch it, so you don't catch the word London or Liverpool, but then suddenly you hear, I've played 10 games. Then you know that you missed this question and you have to shift to this one, quickly circle A, and then start thinking about the next question. What position does the man play? And as soon as you're here looking at this one, thinking about what position does the man play, you kind of have to keep in mind the next question. The next question is this person's name. It's Stephen something. So if you hear his name, Stephen Smith, my name is Stephen Smith, S-M-I-T-H, Smith, and you didn't hear his position, then most likely you missed this one. So then just answer Smith. So one way to avoid panic is to have two questions in your mind at all times. And this is why you really have to try to catch the topic of each question in that 30-second review time. I know you're not able to chat here, Mika, but I hope that made sense for you. If it didn't, Mika, if that wasn't clear, then just send me an email, okay? And I can follow up on it with you. My email is Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, @aehelp.com, okay? But hopefully that made some sense. So don't get lost focusing too much on just one question. Try to keep a more global picture in mind of each of the sections. Now, this becomes much more difficult in section 4 because you don't have enough time to review all the questions. So you have to keep in mind that there's an answer coming roughly every 10 to 20 seconds. So you have to keep moving a bit. If you've lost yourself, just refocus and continue on, okay? I hope that made sense, all right? All right. Okay, so some more questions. I see there's some. Pavan is asking, sir, how do I start preparing for writing task 1 and 2? What should I start with? How can I assess my scores by myself? Pavan, that is a really good question. Pavan, can I ask, are you doing the general or the academic version of the test? And then I can answer you better. So which one are you doing, Pavan? Academic or the general? Academic. Okay. So your first step, and this is a very, very good question, students. So, and because many students start at the wrong place. So many students who sit the IELTS exam, they look at example task 2 essays and they look at catchphrases. Okay. So many students begin their task 1 and 2 studies by looking at example questions and answers and learn templates. This is not a good way to start, okay? And that's why we see students doing this, where they go, this essay will discuss the benefits of driving a car to work instead of taking public transportation. So the reason I'm showing you this, Pavan, is because this is where a lot of students start, and this is where a lot of students make their first big mistake with preparing for their writing and for university or college or their graduate degree, not just the IELTS exam. So they look at, task 1, task 2 essays. This does not work because the students don't learn what task 1 and task 2 actually are. What is task 1 and task 2 essay, right? This doesn't teach you. This just shows you a template. And copying templates doesn't work, especially when a lot of these templates are wrong. They're low-level writing. This is an indirect thesis. It's low-level writing. This essay will discuss the benefits of driving a car to work instead of taking public transportation. That's a low-level sentence, okay? So your question, of course, this is what you should not do. Okay, so your question, of course, is what you should do. What you should do, first of all, is learn the 4 main styles of writing, specifically the 2 that you will use on the academic and in college and university. Okay. So your first step should be learn essay writing fundamentals. Okay. That's what you should do. And it doesn't take long. You just have to go through the steps. Okay. So what you should do is you should learn the essay writing fundamentals. There are 4 basic types of essay. Okay. You can learn this. Google it. You'll see it. Lots of information online. Number 1, how did I get up there? Number 1 is what's called descriptive writing. Number 2 is what's called narrative writing. Number 3 is what's called persuasive writing. And number 4 is what's called expository writing. Okay. So task 1 in the academic is expository writing. Okay. And general, task 1, is narrative writing. When you look this up on Google, just type in expository writing and you will open a world of magic. You will see lots and lots of information, technical information, that this is expository writing. Expository writing is used to explain or express a system, a process, such as a diagram, a flow chart, a pie chart, okay? And there are rules to how you write expository writing. When you do that, your essays will be original and they'll be much higher level, Pavan, than if you just look at some templates online for IELTS Task 1 and Task 2. Task 2 is persuasive writing. Okay. Now, the other part of essay fundamentals is author's voice. And there's 3. Okay. So, first person, I, me, my. It is the subjective voice of the author. Okay. There's second person. We never use this on the IELTS exam. We rarely use this in university. Second person is you, your. It is speaking directly to the reader. Okay. And there's third person. Okay. So third person is people, individuals, society, no, I, or you. Okay. And this is the objective voice of the writer. Or of the author. Okay. So that's essay basics. Okay. Essay basics means that you understand the rules of expository writing, the rules of persuasive writing, the rules of first, second, and third person. Once you understand this, then you know how to interpret the IELTS questions correctly and write a strong essay. Does that make sense, Pavan? So start with these. Okay, start with these. Okay, so start by learning essay fundamentals and apply it. Okay. No, Inaja, once you're, so Inaja's asking, can we mix first and third person voice? No, Inaja, I don't recommend that. So once you've started a first person essay, just keep it in first person. So then your examples should be first person, and I should see a first person sentence in each paragraph. Okay. Yeah, so especially look up first and third person voice and expository and persuasive writing, Pavan. Okay, those are the ones that you should look up. Okay, Paranje is asking, should I use simple sentences or complex sentences in writing task 2? I think the essay I sent you had too many complex sentences with too much information. Yeah, Paranje, so the goal of good writing is to be concise. This is what I think a lot of students forget. Okay, so keep in mind the goal of outstanding authorship is to be concise. Okay, do all of you know what the word concise means? So do all of you know what the word concise means? Concise? So Pavan says to be short. Yeah, in some ways, Pavan, yeah. It means to say it as simply and as short as possible. Okay? Now, sometimes that means you're using a complex sentence. Okay? But, yes, Paranje, exactly. It means to the point. You don't want to unnecessarily overcomplicate your sentences. Okay? And I see students doing that, and it's not good. So do not unnecessarily complicate your sentences. Okay. Now, to be a little bit clearer for you, task 2 should be a combination of simple, complex, and compound sentences. Okay. Sometimes the concise way to say an idea is using a complex sentence. So, for example, if I say cars are the better choice for going to work in the morning. The reason for this is that cars are faster and more comfortable. So those are two simple sentences. Now, that's not concise because here a complex sentence would be more concise. So I should write, cars are better for going to work in the morning because they are comfortable and fast. So I'm actually using a complex sentence to express those two ideas, the action and the result, in a simpler way, okay? But sometimes what students do is they'll give a really long, very complicated sentence, which can be expressed much simpler, okay? That's what you have to focus on, okay? Amarjeet, what was your question? Let me try to see if I can find it. I'm doing my best, Amarjeet. I don't always see them. So Amarjeet is asking, are there different structures or different types of questions like opinion, agree, disagree, problem, solution? Yes, Amarjeet, there are lots, and that's a good question too. Amarjeet, if you have access to our My Student account, let me darken up the screen here a little bit for us. I'll show you something, okay? Just bear with me. So, in your My Student account, up at the top here, you have these two little buttons a lot of students miss on the page, the forum and the blog, okay? We have lots of information there, and you can access those even from your free demo account. So if you click on the blog, okay, then in the blog, you have all these awesome topics that you can read up on, like task 1 and task 2 using commas. Can you see those, students? Let me enlarge that a little bit. And there's one, so we have task 2 writing samples, band 8 to band 9, multiple questions. Okay, so these are all in the blogs. Our success stories, vocabulary, strategies, how to keep your focus and concentration. I know that was a question earlier. So for a lot of your questions, you can come here. How good is your Ielts teacher? Useful vocabulary for task 1. Okay, and then here's one, Amarjeet, that you can check up on. Okay, it's called Ielts task 2 writing, question types, answer strategies. And if I click on the read more, then there you will see a whole essay that talks about the different types of, and you see a lot of people talking about that one as well. So then you'll see all of that information, okay? So that's in the blog section of the website after you log into your My Student account. Hopefully that will help you. But yes, Amarjeet, there are definitely lots of different types of questions. Does that help you? So again, log into your My Student account, go to blogs, and find this blog topic, Ielts task 2 writing, question types and answer strategies. That's because there's a lot of different ones, so I can't get into that right now, okay? All right, I'll take one more question, okay? If I didn't get to your question, students, then just send me an email on it, okay? So, Yvonne says, what should I do? I know you have lots of questions. Maybe so next week I don't have a question answer session, but I'll have another one the week after, okay? So I'll try to get some more of these question answer sessions in to the class. I can see that because we have many new members, we have many new questions, which is great, okay? So I'll take one more question for today. We'll take Yvonne's question. So Yvonne says, what should I do if I'm not confident about the meaning of 2 or more important words in writing task 2? Whew, Yvonne, you might be in trouble, okay? If it's one word, you might be able to infer the meaning from context. But if it's 2 or more words, you could be in trouble, okay? You could be in trouble. The best step, Yvonne, is to try to figure it out from context, and also to think about prefix, root, suffix. Are you familiar with this, Yvonne? The prefix, root, suffix of words in English? So now the prefix won't help you or the root, sorry, that you might not get that because that's usually unique, but the prefix and the suffix might be helpful. So prefix is usually a preposition, and the suffix is the grammar form. Okay, so paraphrasing is para, prefix, close to. Okay, phrase, meaning, or words with meaning, that's the root. Words with meaning. And ing, which is the suffix, and in this case, that is the indication that it's a noun. Okay. Let's do it like that. Okay, so this is an example of looking for prefix, root, suffix. Now, of course, Yvonne, one step that you can do to achieve more efficiency with the identification of prefix, root, suffix is to Google or search common prefixes, common suffixes in the English language. And I definitely recommend all of our IELTS students to do that. So Google, ask Mother Google, common English prefixes and suffixes. Okay? So that's a good point to leave on. All right, students, I know you have a lot of questions. Hopefully, I gave you a little bit more clarity and some useful advice for your inquiries in this class. Coming up in 30 minutes, roughly, we have speaking part 3 for everyone to join in. I will have more of these question-answer sessions for our members, so make sure to tune into these classes when they are available. Thank you for your questions. Mohammed, I'm sorry if I missed your question. I know that I couldn't get to all of yours. Mohammed, just send it to me by email, okay? Send me an email. I know that I missed some of your questions, so don't worry about that. I'm happy to answer them in a short email. Again, my email address is adrian@aehelp.com. Okay, so send it by email and I'll get back to you. Students, once more, make sure to join either our free or our premium package at aehelp.com for academic IELTS or gieltshelp.com for the general. Lots and lots of help there for you, okay? You're very, very welcome. Bye for now, students. Hopefully, I'll see you in 30 minutes for some speaking practice.